Welcome back. Alec Lasley from the Hoosier.com is with me, as I said. Make sure you give him a follow on Twitter and me as well. Hey, and also make sure you hit the subscribe button on YouTube if you haven't, and like and all that good stuff as well. The recruiting, we need a scorecard, Alec. A lot of offers have gone out here of late, and of course, some are for 23, some are for 24. Of course, we're sitting here talking about right now, what are they going to do in 23? Because they've got a spot to fill up in this 22 class, but we'll leave that for another day since we just battle. We don't know where that's going to go. How many offers are even out there right now? I'm trying to find that.
Yeah, they sent out. I think it was 5 this week. I guess 5 since this weekend, this past weekend with the first live evaluation period, which always happens. Coaches are finally able to see guys, and especially after the last 2 years where coaches really haven't been able to be out as frequently as they want. So no surprise that a lot of offers are out. That's why you have these live evaluation periods. But I think most of these, right, are for 2024. You have some 2025 offers out. So guys who still have a long ways to go in their recruitments. You have a couple 2023s out there that are more recent. But again, wouldn't be surprised once we get to Indy here in 2 weeks, next weekend, when the Nike UIBL comes up for the second live evaluation period. If you don't see a couple additional offers, or at least see some of these offers kind of take the next step in terms of their recruitment of Indiana's recruitment of them, when coaches are actually able to see them again.
Yep, and it means a lot more. They want to. The coaches want to make that offer. They want to do it personally. They like to do it after they've seen them, so they can say that, "Hey, man, that was a great game," or whatever the case may be. I think it makes the kids feel more special, if you will. But all right, you just mentioned after this weekend, busy time, because just in Indianapolis alone, there were 3 events going on. 3 different events. You had the Adidas event, of course, the Gauntlet up at Finch Creek. I think there was an Under Armour event. I can't remember where that was. I wasn't there. I was at Finch Creek.
Yeah, and then you had the one of the other events up at Ben Davis as well. So you had 3 kind of big time events all going on at the same time.
But more importantly, virtually every IU target was in action for next season, and even there beyond. That's pretty accurate, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and it obviously helped that you had your 2 2023 commitments in Gabe Cupps and Ja'Kai Newton, both in Indy as well. So the coaches got to see them. You did have the Nike EYBL down in Orlando. So obviously that's not a drive away. That's a flight. But yeah, the IU assistants, Hoosier Rosemond and Brian Walsh, started out down in Orlando on Friday and part of Saturday, and then made their way back up. Hoosier Rosemond went to Georgia for some of the smaller events to get a look at some of the guys down there to finish up the weekend. And Brian Walsh was back up in Indy towards the end of the weekend, splitting time between the Adidas and Under Armour event.
I was at the Gauntlet, and I know Keegan was there. Keegan Nicholson was there for the Hoosier.com as well. Man, that was that the biggest event, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we had Keegan and Kyler there. Both of those guys were going back and forth. I know Kyler also checked out Under Armour on Sunday as well. So Adidas definitely, I would say, was the bigger event there. Tons of you have tons of courts there, and they also had some of the younger guys up at Fishers High School as well. So you had those 2 locations for Adidas. Obviously, tons and tons of talent. A lot of the younger guys, I would say, in terms of 2024 class. You had some 2023 guys, again, that Indiana looked at there. One of the newer offers with 2023 4-star wing that was just offered yesterday, Peja Stojakovic's son. He plays on the Adidas circuit, so they were able to see him. They ended up offering a 2025 guy on his team as well, 5-star forward, Pete. But obviously 2025, so ways to go with that. But yeah, they were able to also offer down on the Nike circuit Liam McNeely, 5-star forward in the 2024 class, and then 2024 as well, Yves Misi. So a lot of offers to kind of 2024, 2025 class, sprinkled in with the Stojakovic offer in 2023.
Yeah, that's did you all get all that? And actually, to keep up with it, like I said, let's just go to the Hoosier.com and you can keep all that information where Alec has it. Like everybody does, and especially now, it's probably even worse. You have to you put out more offers than you have room for. And for one thing, you never know how much room you're going to have now. You used to know, we're going to have 3 scholarships. We're going to sit 3 seniors, so we're going to have 3 scholarships next year. Yeah, not the case anymore, which makes it even more difficult. But so navigating this recruiting landscape is something that this staff seems to have gotten a lot better at quickly. Last year, obviously the assistant coaches had done it, but for Mike, now I think he's getting a better grasp on how to attack this and going after the players that they need and want. And actually, I think that Indiana is going to be successful recruiting for a couple of reasons. I've already said this. One, because of their coaches. Yasmir and Kenya Hunter are successful recruiters. Brian Walsh is showing to be he's a good young coach coming up, man, especially from the recruiting side. He's doing a hell of a job. And then Mike Woodson just comes in and sprinkles the NBA dust on top of it, which is not a bad combination, I'll be honest with you. Now it's a little bit better than it was, but they've got to show on the floor. They've got to have success. They've got to have player development. And that is something that did not happen during the Archie Miller tenure, but we've got to see that now. And that's probably something that a lot of these kids are looking at. They want to get to the league, and virtually everybody that Indiana's recruiting now, the goal is to get to the NBA. And that's, you can't have a team full of those players, but you want half a team full of them. Half your team has to be guys that think that they can make it to the league. And probably should be guys that have a shot to. But anyway, getting those title recruits, it seems to feed on itself too, Alec. When they see those guys coming, hey, there's something going on there.
Well, yeah, and once you start building a pipeline, whether it's from the same school, whether it's from the same region, from the same state, something they're starting to do in Georgia with Yzir Roseman's ties there. Obviously, Caleb Banks, you have Ja'Kai Newton, so you have those 2 guys set from the Georgia area. You have Cohen Carr in 2023, who the Indiana staff is really, really pushing hard after. Originally from the Georgia area, he and Ja'Kai Newton are really good friends. So that's another potential one. That he suffered a broken finger, so he did not play in the first session down in Orlando. He may be able to play here in 2 weeks when they come to Indy, but that's still kind of up in the air. But he's another one they offered 2023, really late bloomer, I would say, and fast riser, and Arrington Page, 4-star forward, kind of hybrid forward as well from the Georgia area. They're really starting to build that, and talking to those guys, they all know each other, and they know if they have a couple guys from the same area go to the same school, one, not only can they trust that coaching staff, but 2, now if they do go there, they really have guys they can mesh with immediately because they're from the same area and from the same region. And when they're starting to build these pipelines, it's just so effective to continue to build on that in class after class. It's something that you just haven't seen with Indiana, at least outside of the state of Indiana over the last decade or so. Just their ability to really kind of pinpoint who they want and have a really, really strong chance of landing them regardless of kind of when they come into that recruitment, which could not be said about the previous staff. So The way that they're all spreading out across the entire country here. You have offers on the West Coast. You have offers in the Midwest, Southeast, Northeast. And Indiana's going to be able to kind of pick and choose who they want in the next few years, assuming all goes well, obviously, on the floor. And they continue to take this upward trajectory that they definitely are on. And that's something that Indiana really didn't have the luxury with to do over the last few seasons.
Ed asking, what do they do with X? Says it seems like Woody's in limbo with X. I don't think so. I don't. All he does is says, listen, you keep your ass out of trouble. You do this again, and I don't have a choice but to kick you off the team. Because if anything was going to happen, it would have happened by now. He's not going to. That would have put Xavier in a bind and all that. So nothing's going to happen there. He's going to be the starting point guard. That's what he's going to do with Xavier. And if he can get Xavier to play from the start like he did at the end, that in and of itself will give Indiana off to a much, much better start. Now you add the fact that you will have Jalen Hood-Schifino next to him most likely, I think is a very calming influence. I think that while it'll take a few minutes for him to get over these bigger lights, and they are bigger lights. I don't care who you are. It's just a bigger stage. But I think he's ready for that. And that'll happen pretty quickly. I think he's going to be a solid player on there. And then you look at this 3 position, and there's a lot of options there, man. You got Jordan Geronimo, you got Trey Galloway, a lot of different options. Trey can play Mike Woodson's going to have a lot more options next year, it seems like, to kind of move guys a little bit. You know, we talk about positionless basketball, and they're getting a little closer to that. And, you know, we've talked a lot about Trace. If he's not there, well, you know, you look back last year, Indiana did some of their best things without him on the floor. You know, how do they beat a Purdue team that he played 4 minutes in? They did it with guard play that played out. You know, Rob Finney had a great game. So would losing Trace Jackson-Davis be the worst thing in the world for this team?
Yeah, no, and we touched on it a lot in that first segment where it's getting, basketball's always been about guards, whether you like it or not, because post players aren't going to get the ball unless the guard's good enough to get them the ball. So you always need good guard play, but it's becoming more and more evident that you need playmakers on the wing. You need versatile players on the wing. You need length. You need athleticism, and Indiana has not had that. And that's when I think you look at who they're going after. A guy like someone that we haven't really touched on, Dexter Dennis here from Wichita State, the transfer who's taking an official visit Monday, Tuesday of next week. 6'5" guy, super athletic, super versatile. Was the defensive player of the year in the AAC last year. And a guy who he did shoot 40% as a freshman from 3, dropped down to 29.7 last year as a senior. Guy has 1 year of eligibility left, but he's a guy that a lot of people are kind of bashing on because of his inability or inconsistency is probably the better word to shoot the 3. But at the same time, he's not the only guy that you would look at bringing in. He's an upgrade 100% on the wing position from a defensive standpoint and from an ability to actually get into the paint and finish at the rim, which we talked about again in the first segment that Indiana did not have with Parker Stewart or Miller Kopp last year. He would not take away any minutes from a guy like a Jordan Geronimo, which a lot of people obviously want to see continue to progress. So that's not an issue there. And so if you have the ability to upgrade your roster immediately and do it at a position of need, you don't even take a second thought at it, and you do everything you can to get that guy on your roster for next year. And a guy who can guard almost 1 through 4 on the floor with his length and athleticism. Indiana really didn't have that outside of Jordan Geronimo, who again just didn't play enough last year. And when you look at college basketball today, it's all about the wings, it's all about the perimeter, and you need to load up on perimeter players and guys who can play almost 3 different positions. And that's what you're starting to see with Mike Woodson in terms of recruiting and in terms of bringing in different guys who can play those positions. And so you look at a guy like a Dexter Dennis, which I think would be a really good addition to this team. And again, one of those pieces that you didn't have last year that makes your team better, then you can go out and find a shooter, and that's still a possibility with a guy like Sean McNeil from West Virginia, career 12-point per game scorer there at West Virginia in his 2 seasons that he played there. About a 37% 3-point shooter, a guy who can still create off of the bounce. But if you have the ability to add both of those guys and shore up your wing position, regardless of what Trayce Jackson-Davis does or not, that automatically makes you a better team than what you had this past season. So Indiana's doing it the right way, starting in the backcourt in the wing positions, and then finding some plug and play guys who would potentially be able to make up for some sort of lack of production that you would get with Trayce Jackson-Davis leaving. But at the end of the day, I think you look at bringing Race Thompson back is probably better than what most teams would be able to find in the transfer portal. So right there, you found at least a rock that you can lean on in the front court on both ends of the floor that was a significant upgrade than what Indiana would have been able to find in the transfer portal.
If you put Race in place of Trayce, why have you not upgraded? He can hit jump shots. He can actually hit a 3-point. He's not great at it, but he can hit a 3-point shot. He can hit a jump shot. And he obviously showed he's a double machine. And if he had around him what Trayce didn't, I would think that Race is enough of a complement player that gives you the more complete team and offense that you are looking for.
Yeah, and that's exactly the way that Mike Woodson seems to be building this roster right now. Is not to say that he knows one way or the other what Trayce Jackson-Davis is going to do, because I still don't think at this very moment he knows exactly what he's going to do. But you're building a much better system offensively, where you have all that versatility of guys who can play multiple positions, guys who spread the floor, and give whatever big guys in there a lot more room to operate and play a lot more of that 4-round-1 that you definitely need to do, that you just didn't have last year with some of the roster pieces, especially coming off of the bench.
I agree with that. And if Trayce Jackson leaves, who do they replace him with?
Yeah, again, I don't think it's one singular.
And I don't think that they replace him with a big necessarily. But what about Malik Reneau? I know that they're in hot pursuit of him. Obviously, a teammate of Jalen Hood-Schifino's from Montverde, a very, very, very talented player, and he's a talent. If they could get him, that would be tremendous, and that would change things again. But where would he fit into this offense?
Yeah, and he's still a guy that if Trayce Jackson-Davis leaves, is a guy that you bring in, and I think a lot is going to kind of unfold here in the next, I would say, 3 to 4 weeks. I don't think Malik Reneau is going to extend his recruitment that much longer. They have the Jordan Brand game tonight, which he and Jalen Hood-Schifino will be playing in. But after that, he's going to start taking some of these visits. Indiana's still expected to get a look here at the end of the month. Assuming that happens, right? A lot can go from there. If that visit doesn't happen, obviously, I think it shows you a lot about what Indiana's either trying to do or where they're going to turn next. But yeah, he's a guy. If you have Malik Reneau, Jordan Geronimo, and Race Thompson, honestly, that's about all you need up there in the front court. Guys who can do 3 different things and still all rebound the ball tremendously. And then that's when you just add in more perimeter players and more wings to just enhance that ability and that versatility that all 3 of those forwards would have.